on the range today, so please bear with gunfire here in the background. A while ago we did some presentations comparing standard pressure and plus P ammunitions in a few different calibers, and that subject has come up again specifically in caliber 9x19. And for today, if I say 9mm or just 9, I am referring to 9x19. So here we are. Now, ideally, to do a comparison of different types of ammunition, you should shoot everything through the same gun. Easy enough, I've got a Beretta 92FS. But also, ideally, you'd want to use the same brands and same configurations of ammunition. I can do that to an extent. Both of these ammunitions are Remington, both 9x19, both 124 grain jacketed hollow points. This one being Ultimate Defense and this one being Golden Saber. But the Ultimate Defense has printed on the box that it is loaded with a 124 grain brass jacketed Golden Saber hollow point. This makes a fair comparison, the only real difference being standard pressure versus plus P. But with some of the ammunitions I'm going to use today, some of which were sent to me by viewers, thank you everybody, I wasn't able to get the exact same brands and the exact same configurations of all the 9mm ammunition we're going to be using. So there will be some extraneous variables, and today's presentation will not be ideal, but I think we can still get some useful information out of it. And let's start with going to the chronograph. I'm going to start with this Winchester White Box 9x19 115 grain jacketed hollow point. $1,090. 1155. 1097. 1122. 1166. And 1144. Now let's try another type of ammo. And now Remington Green and White Box 9x19 115 grain jacketed hollow point. $11.08. 11.20. 11.83. 1,090. 11.23. And 1,086. Now let's try some plus P ammo. Now this is McNett's double tap ammunition, and it's a 9x19 plus P 115 grain jacketed hollow point. $13.68. 13.64. 13.68. 13.73. And 13.35. Let's see how that stacks up to some plus P plus ammo. And now Federal 9x19 plus P plus 115 grain jacketed hollow point. $13.05. 13.31. 12.99. 13.17. And 13.41. Let's try another type of plus P plus. And this is Speer Gold Dot 9x19 plus P plus 115 grain jacketed hollow point. $13.45. 13.73. 13.59. 13.90. and 1379. Now let's go crunch these numbers. Well, I crunched the numbers and here's what we've got. And of course, as I've said before, chronographs don't always agree with each other, and certain environmental factors like elevation and ambient temperature can affect chronograph results. So with our standard pressure ammunition, with the Remington, we got a mean velocity of 1118, and with the Winchester, 1129. That's 11 feet per second more, well within the variation of one round to the next, and not enough difference to make a difference. But with our plus P and plus P plus ammunitions, we got very impressive numbers. With a double tap plus P, a mean velocity of 1361. That's 232 and 243 feet per second more. That's a lot more. But with our plus P plus ammo, with the Federal, we got a mean velocity of 1318. That's 43 feet per second less than just the plus P. And with our Spear Gold Dot plus P plus, we got a mean velocity of 1369. That's only 8 feet per second more than with the double tap. Again, well within the variation of one round to the next, and not enough difference to make a difference. So what can we take from all of this? Well, some people will say it's an unfair comparison because I'm comparing what would be called premium or boutique or what I call hyper ammunitions to regular ammunition. But even taking that into consideration, we can see that our plus P gives us a lot more performance than our standard pressure. We can also see that not all plus Ps and not all plus P pluses are created equal. Caveat emptor. So let's go back to the chronograph with some different types of 9mm plus P and plus P plus ammo and see what kind of results we get. Now let's shoot some 9x19 ammunition with 124 grain projectiles. And we'll start with our Remington Ultimate Defense 9x19 124 grain jacketed hollow point. $11.62. $11.97. $11.51. $11.75. And $11.78. Now let's try the plus P version of this. And now our Remington Golden Saber 9x19 plus P 124 grain jacketed hollow point. $11.55. $11.90. $11.89. $11.72. And $11.64. Now let's try a different type of plus P. And now I'll try this Hornady American gunner ammunition, which is 9x19 plus P, 124 grain jacketed hollow point. $11.20. $11.67. $11.30. $11.24. And $11.47. Now let's try one more type of ammo. This is Underwood ammunition, and it's a 9x19 plus P plus 124 grain jacketed hollow point. $13.12. $12.97. $13.23. $13.15. And $13.10. Now let's go crunch those numbers. Well, I crunched the numbers and here's the results. Now with our standard pressure ultimate defense ammunition, we got a mean velocity of 1172. But with our Golden Saber plus P ammunition, we were able to increase that to 1174, a gain of 2 feet per second. So that is well within the variation of one round to the next and not enough difference to make a difference. However, with our Hornady American Gunner plus P ammunition, we got a mean velocity of 1137, That's 35 feet per second less. I know this is a tired saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't know what they meant when they added the plus P designation, but I do not think it means what you think it means. Now, with our Underwood plus P plus ammunition, we got a mean velocity of 1311. That's 139 feet per second more. That's a lot more. But what these results really tell us is basically the same thing that the 115 grain ammunition told us, which is not all plus P ammunition is created equal. So we see in terms of 9mm performance, sometimes the designator plus P doesn't mean much, and sometimes it means a great deal. And in those cases where it does mean a lot, that brings up some questions and concerns, one of those being accuracy. And I've covered this before, but when you sight in a pistol with a particular type of ammunition, and then you shoot a different type of ammunition, that can, to varying degrees in some guns, cause a shift in group location and or group size. And where that becomes a concern is if someone is practicing with a certain type of ammo, but carrying a different type of ammo. Now, there's many reasons someone might do that. A big factor is cost. This ammunition cost me 3 times what this ammunition cost. And there are many things that can contribute to that shift. 2 big factors are projectile weight and velocity. And this shift can become profound in some guns if your projectile weight and or velocity are significantly outside the parameters of what would be considered typical for that caliber. Now, the ammunition I'm using today with 115 and 124 grain projectiles are very common for 9mm. But as we saw in our 115 grain ammunition, velocities of just over 1100 are typical, while some of the ammunitions I'm using are giving me velocities of over 1360. That is, significantly outside the parameters of what would be considered typical for 9mm. So to what degree is this ammunition going to affect our accuracy in terms of group location and size? Let's see if I can put that to the test. So with the Beretta 92FS, I'll shoot from 20 yards, and I'll shoot the Remington 115s, the Winchester White Box 115, the Double Tap Plus P 115, and the Speer Gold Dot Plus P Plus 115s, and let's see how the groups compare. We see that with the Remington ammunition, the group is fairly well centered, and that's the ammo that was used to zero this pistol. With the Winchester White Box, it may have shifted a little. The shot that's really high, that was just me. But with the double tap ammunition, we definitely see a shift in the location of the group. and with the Spear Gold Dot ammunition, another shift to a different location. Now, depending on how you measure it, the difference between our control group and our plus P ammunition is about 4 inches, and that's at 20 yards. So at 5 yards, that would only be an inch of difference, and there are those who would argue that's not enough to make a difference. However, I have shot targets that were 100 yards away, and at that distance, that definitely would make a difference. But what this really shows us is that if your practice ammunition and your carry ammunition are different, you have to get that carry ammunition on paper and see where it hits. There's another concern about our plus P and plus P plus ammunitions that I can illustrate with the meat target. Now, for those who haven't seen it, the meat target is leather jacket skin followed by pork steak pectorals, pork ribs, a bag of oranges to simulate lung tissue, more pork ribs on the back, 4 layers of t-shirt on the front, 4 layers on the back, and the whole thing followed by the new and improved high-tech fleece bullet stop. Now, the concern is about hollow point expansion. As I've said before, hollow points are velocity based. If you propel them too slowly, they'll drop below expansion threshold and you get very little to no expansion. But propel them too fast and you get hyper expansion, fragmentation, and a lot of damage on the surface, but completely insufficient penetration. Now, with our double tap plus P 115 grain hollow points and our Spear Gold Dot plus P plus 115 grain hollow points being propelled at far greater velocities than what would be considered typical, what kind of damage are they going to do to the meat target? Now, as a basis of comparison, I'll shoot from 7 yards with our Winchester white box 9x19 115 grain jacketed hollow point, and we'll see what kind of damage we get, and then see how our plus P and plus P plus ammunitions compare. So what we see is a lot of damage to the ribs on the front of the target where the bullets hit the ribs, shattered them. Lots of damage to our orange lung tissue. For the ribs on the back of the target, all the bullets went through where the bullets hit the ribs, broke them, and all 4 of the projectiles were stopped either by the t-shirt on the back of the target or the first or second layer of fleece. Now let me show you a close-up of the projectiles. And we can see fairly good and fairly consistent hollow point expansion. Now I've got a new meat target set up, and I'll shoot from 7 yards with our double tap 9x19 plus P 115 grain jacketed hollow point. So with the double tap ammunition, we see bigger holes in our pork chop pectoral than we did with the Winchester ammunition. Also, bigger holes in our ribs on the front and more damage. A lot more damage to our orange lung tissue, and our ribs on the back have bigger holes in them, and where the bullets hit a rib, shattered it. But as far as penetration goes, all 4 of these projectiles were stopped by the t-shirt on the back of the target. So our double tap compared to our Winchester ammunition seems to have significantly more damage, but the penetration's about the same. Now let me show you a close-up of these projectiles. And we see a lot of expansion. A couple of them lost their jackets, but there's no significant fragmentation. And now our Spear Gold Dot 9x19 plus P plus 115 grain hollow point. Well, the ribs on the front and the ribs on the back both have big holes in them, and where bullets hit the ribs, shattered them. Our orange lung tissue is annihilated, but with the Spear Gold Dot hollow points, 2 of the projectiles were stopped by the t-shirt on the back of the target, and 2 made it through to about the 10th layer of fleece. Now let me show you a close-up of these rounds. And we see excellent expansion and very little fragmentation. Now there's a few things to add. First, we saw that the penetration of our plus P and plus P plus 115 grain hollow points was perfectly sufficient, so we can take it as axiomatic that we'd get sufficient penetration from our 124 grain plus P and plus P plus ammunitions. Also, we saw that the performance of this ammunition was extremely good, but that comes at the cost of a few things. First being the cost. Ammunition like this can have exorbitant price tags. There's also the cost in terms of wear and tear on your pistol. Remember, not all handguns are rated for plus P ammunition. And in shooting this Beretta 92 FS, I could feel how hard the slide was operating. Other than today's presentation, I would not shoot this type of ammunition in my Beretta 92FS. Yes, well, this is not my Beretta 92FS that I typically use. This is somebody else's. But the real bottom line to today's presentation, I'd say, is three things. One, as we saw, not all plus P ammunition is created equal. Two, you have to make sure that your pistol is rated for plus P ammunition. And three, although we saw very little variation in terms of point of impact, you'll get individual results with individual pistols, anywhere from insignificant to profound. And you have to make sure that your practice ammo and your carry ammo are hitting pretty close to the same place. So, as always, don't try this at home on what you call a professional, and thanks for watching the 9x19 plus P and plus P plus video.